Hi guys, I'm Charlie Book Fanatic and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a book haul. This is the second book haul I will have on my channel. I will have some physical copies that will be my own, and I will have some library copies with me. The first book I have here is a library copy that I'm not sure I will get to read this time because I have 2 more days until I have to bring it back to the library, but I will definitely borrow it again so I can read it, so I thought I would show it to you anyway. It is the Dutch version of We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. This book is about 4 teenagers who find out that in 2 months the world will perish because a comet will hit the planet, and in those 2 months they will have to experience everything they wanted to experience and have all of the adventures they wanted to have and basically live their whole lives in 2 months. I've heard of this on BookTube a long time ago. I think when it came out was that last year or the year before that? I don't know. All I know is that I've heard of it on BookTube and I became really interested in it, and specifically because of the cover. And there was a cover on the art copy that didn't even have the title on it. You could only read the title on Fine, and it would just be this picture, and I thought that was really interesting, and that was what originally caught my attention. Flipping pages through this book makes me see that this book is divided into alternate viewpoint from all of these teenagers, and these teenagers are 2 girls, 2 boys, Eliza, Anita, Peter and Andy. Names may be different in the English version, that's what it says on the back of this. Anyway, you will get to experience the story throughout all of their viewpoints, and I'm really excited for this because it is a contemporary and I love reading about friendship and love. The second book is also a library copy, and I am sure I'm going to read this because this has been on my TBR for the longest time, and it's called A Friend of the Impossible Life by Kate Scelsa. I was so excited when I saw this coming in my library because it's new in my library, and I also love how they order in these books in their original cover. This book is about 2 guys and 1 girl. The girl is called Myra and the guys are called Sebby and Jeremy. I picked this book up originally because it involves LGBTQ+ elements, and one of the characters is bisexual, and that's what the story is about. I think the girl character Myra is depressed because that's what I get from the back. I think I will just read the back to you because it has very short text. "May we live impossibly," Sebby said when he opened his eyes. "Against all odds, may people look at us and wonder how such jewels can sparkle in the sad desert of the world. May we live the impossible life." Mira is trying to pretend that she's a fully functioning human, rather than a girl who can't get out of bed for days on end. That's why I thought she was depressed. I don't know for sure. Jeremy is a painfully shy art nerd in self-imposed isolation after an incident that ruined his last year of school. And Sebby is a charming gay foster kid who seems to carry sunlight around with him. For Jeremy, it's as if he has always been expecting Sebby, though they've only just met. For Mira, she finally feels awake when she's with him. But Sebby has his own secrets, and it's only together that the 3 of them can fix their broken selves and live their impossible lives. I think it sounds absolutely wonderful, but why I think this book is a love triangle, it says on the back that Sebby is gay, but I don't know, because the back kind of alludes to it, that Jeremy is in love with Sebby and Mira is in love with Sebby. It seems like my library copies are on top. The next one is also a library copy. It is a Dutch edition of Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway. I don't know why I picked this up. It's actually an accidental pick, but I didn't want to bring it back to the library because I can borrow 50 books a year because I have to pay for the library, and I can borrow 50 books a year, and I thought it was kind of a waste if I didn't even try to read it. But I wanted to pick up another book, but I accidentally picked the wrong one. I have heard of this though on Dutch blogs and stuff, but it's an English book by Robin Benway. I know it's a contemporary, as you can see from the cover. He and Oliver were neighbours until Oliver went missing, and after 10 years he suddenly reappears and they have to try to reconnect. The next one is also a book from the library, and I really wanted to read this for the longest time, and I've tried to pick this up once, but it wasn't in back then, but I finally have it in my hands, and that is Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock by Matthew Quick. The book is about Leonard Peacock, who is a teenage boy who wants to commit suicide, but before he commits suicide, he is going to kill his best friend. He calls him his best friend because I already started this, as you can see, and I started reading it on the bus ride back home from the library. But he wants to kill his best friend, who's not really his best friend. His best friend is kind of mean to him. At least he said so, because I haven't seen his best friend in the book yet. But he wants to kill his best friend and then commits suicide, and that is basically the synopsis of this book. He leaves letters for 4 people, I believe. I could just read you the back, you know. 8-year-old Leonard Peacock knows exactly what he'll do. He'll say goodbye. Not to his mum, who he calls Linda because it annoys her, who's moved out and left him to fend for himself. Nor to his former best friend, whose torments have driven him to consider committing the unthinkable. But to his 4 friends, Humphrey Bogart, obsessed neighbour, a teenage violin virtuoso, a pastor's daughter, and a teacher. Most of the time, Leonard believes he's weird and sad, but these friends have made him think that maybe he's not. He wants to thank them and say goodbye. I think I'm almost crying just reading the back of this, but I think this will have a really big emotional impact on me, and I really hope so, because I'm longing for emotional impact from a book again. Please. Then we're on to the books I actually bought myself. That is not completely true. I have 2 books I bought myself and 2 I bought from the library. Oops. Anyway, still a haul. There's 2 books I bought myself. Continue on with the library books. The next one is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I've talked about this a lot already. The other one is Confess by Colleen Hoover. I already talked a lot about this already in my weekly reading vlogs. Ugly Love is about a woman called Tate and a man called Miles. Tate is moving in with her brother Corbin, who is a pilot, and Corbin's neighbour is Miles, who is also a pilot. That is how they know each other. And Tate gets to know Miles, and they get into a sexual relationship, no strings attached, but you know how that is going to play out. Strings get attached. I have already read Ugly Love, by the way. I have also read Confess by Colleen Hoover. Confess is about Auburn and Owen is an artist who has his own gallery. Auburn walks along this gallery and gets hired to do the administration for a gallery night, and that is how they meet each other. Owen already knows Auburn, but we don't know from where at the beginning of the story. And Auburn doesn't seem to know him. It's basically their tale of falling in love and getting together and everything that happens in between. That is basically how Colleen Hoover's books play out. I didn't like this one. I did like Ugly Love. The next book I'm going to read by Colleen Hoover is Maybe Someday, and I will get that one from the library as well, I think, but maybe not. Then the 2 books I actually bought myself. The first one is Illuminae by Amie, Kaufman and Kristoff. I've already talked about this a lot also in my weekly reading vlogs, because I also have already read this. And I really, really liked it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, my favourite book of the entire year. This book is about Katie and Ezra and their love story again, but this is a science fiction novel. Katie and Ezra's world gets into a war, and all of the people have to be evacuated into these spaceships, at least the people that are still living. These 3 spaceships are called the Copernicus, the Hipparchia and the Alexander. And there is a spaceship after them called the Lincoln, who wants to destroy all of them to wipe out all evidence of this war. And it's basically a really impactful story that I can't wait to read the sequel of, which is Gemini. I am so impressed by this. That is not why I bought it. I want to say that's why I bought it, but it's not true. I bought this because I have been wanting to read this for months, and then I normally never buy books if I haven't read them already, but this one I just had to make an exception for because the cover is beautiful, and 2, I already expected to really love this, so I'm really happy it didn't disappoint me. Then the last book I'm going to talk about is also a book I have already read, but not since I got it. I read as a library copy before, I think 2 years ago or 1 year ago, and I absolutely loved it. And it's Night Film by Marisha Pessl. This is a thriller about a journalist called Scott McGrath who becomes obsessed with his horror filmmaker called Cordova, Stanislas Cordova, I believe he's called. Then Cordova's daughter Ashley commits suicide, and Scott, finally not obsessed with Cordova anymore because it ruined his marriage, finds out that Cordova's daughter committed suicide, but Scott doesn't believe that Ashley committed suicide. He believes it's a murder, and he becomes obsessed with Cordova and Cordova's estate and all of Cordova's films all over again. I rate this book 5 out of 5 stars when I first read, and I'm planning on rereading it again. Also already started on when I got it, actually. While I was reading other books, but I was like, I need to start this right now. I absolutely love this book. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I have never loved a thriller as much as I love this one. It is my baby. It's literally my baby. And I cannot wait until Marisha Pessl finally comes out with another book, because she has another book which is also on here, Special Topics in Calamity Physics. That was her first book, I believe. And also tried to read that one, but I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt right before that one, and it was basically a ripoff. So I was kind of disappointed by that, but this is still my baby. And I want Marisha Pessl to come out with another thriller just like this one, please. Please. Anyway, this is my haul. These are the books I bought too. And a lot of library books. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below, what books do you want to read from this pile? Have you read any of these books? Let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.